Hello, awakened creators. Amanda here. I wanted to talk to you today about creative flow and the piece about creative flow that no one ever seems to really talk about. If you end your projects or sessions feeling dissatisfaction with what you've created, you're definitely going to want to watch this video so that you aren't confused as you are moving through your creative flow cycle and wonder whether or not this is normal. And if you stay to the end, I will share with you how you can start to master the cycle of creative flow yourself so that when these things come up, you know exactly how to move through them. So stay tuned. So the other day, I was working on the piece you see behind me, and I put in a good 2 hours working on it, was very present with it during the process, and at around the 2 hour mark, I started to get tired and decided I was, done for the day and that was good enough. And I walked away from the canvas with this sense of dissatisfaction. Now, sometimes when I walk away from a canvas, I have this sense of great accomplishment. I'm very delighted with what I've created. I'm very satisfied. But this time, I walked away from the work that I had done that day, and I felt not really disappointed, but just dissatisfied. There was something there that maybe I felt like I could have done better and I hadn't, and it just left me with this overall feeling of dissatisfaction. So I want to remind you all and remind myself, obviously, that the creative flow cycle and this whole creative process is something that's going to require us to be really gentle with ourselves. It's not a race. It's not a competition. Even if you're in a competition, it's not a competition. Your ability to create great works, whether they're paintings or they're a film or they're a piece of music, your ability to create something of quality is really going to be dependent on you. And it's going to be dependent on you, not necessarily in the way of, do I have the skill enough? Do I know all the techniques and the tricks and the, whatever's. Those things certainly will come in handy depending on what you're creating. But the major element that's kind of like not something that you can put your finger on necessarily is your ability to be gentle with yourself and move with yourself through the creative process with grace and with acceptance and with love. So the next time that you create and you're not satisfied with the work that you've done, remember that you really want to pull back at that phase of creative flow. You want to surrender, you want to accept, you want to fall into trust and non-judgment and allow yourself to move through the rest of this experience, because creative flow is really all about keeping your heart open and keeping yourself open. So if we open at the beginning of the cycle of flow, and then we are open during, but then at the end we trapdoor it shut and we don't allow love to continue to move through us, we're going to hate just about everything that we create, or we're going to think it's trash or be dissatisfied with it. So we really have to remember to be gentle with ourselves, to continue to allow it to unfold, even though we think that we're done. So there's this trick of the mind that happens when you finish a creative session or you finish And it's just that you think you're finished, and it's not really ever finished. I think there's a quote out there from someone saying that art's never really finished, it's just abandoned. So it's never really finished. What you have to remind yourself of is that there may be missing pieces of information that you don't have yet. There may be an experience that needs to unfold that has not occurred yet. There are all these reasons why there's this general sense that it's not quite right when you walk away from your work. And it is not meant to be construed as you didn't do a good enough job, or your skill level's not up to par, or any of these kind of self-judgments that start to roll out of our minds when we finish a session. It's really meant for you to go, okay, that was that one. Like, that was that release. That was that layer. That was that moment. Now I get to allow life to continue to unfold for me. And when I return to this project again, I'll have new information. I will have new experiences to draw from. I will have new inspiration. I will have new insights. And that really is what starts to happen when you allow the creative cycle of flow to just move. You would just allow it to move, and you don't block it, right? By starting to fall into self-judgment, by starting to critique your work too early, and those kind of things. So consider the fact that you don't have all of the pieces, and maybe that is what you're picking up on with that feeling of dissatisfaction with that session, is that you've not quite got all the pieces yet, and that's okay. Now, if you do feel like you truly have finished your project and you are sitting in a place of judgment and not feeling good about what you've created, that really is a call to do some more work on figuring out what that creative block is about, because that is a creative block. You know, we think about creative blocks as only occurring before we start a project or maybe during the project, but creative blocks can start after our projects as well, where we sit in harsh judgment of what has come out of us. I mean, if you think about creation, it would be like you go through all 9 months of pregnancy to have a baby, and then now you're like, I don't want this baby, or I don't like, this baby is not cute or something. Like, this is our opportunity to really accept what we've created and accept what's moved through us. So if you have created a project and you're finished with it, but you're sitting in dissatisfaction, know too that spirit element of creative flow you've shut down and you've blocked, because now you're no longer in surrender and acceptance of what has been created. So do some journaling on that. You can listen to meditation on that. If you're feeling stuck after you've created something, that's definitely a sign that there's some resistance there to feeling like what you've done is good enough, and you want to find out why is that. Why do you feel like it's not good enough, or you're not good enough? Or it usually ends up, in my experience, coming back to that grand old question of being good enough, that question that really pierces the heart. So do some investigative work, and you will likely find out some very interesting things that, if you're able to move through them, can really free you to walk away from future projects feeling very full of acceptance of what you've produced, and just understanding that that's just one part of an even larger cycle that is your whole creative journey. So it doesn't need to encapsulate all of your worth as a creative being. So I hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope that this discussion has maybe sparked some insight for you. I'm curious now, how do you usually feel after a creative session? Are you usually very satisfied with what you've done? Do you sometimes sit in judgment of it, like I was explaining, or do you have this sort of nagging sense of incompleteness? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see if I'm the only one out here feeling this way. I know I can't possibly be. However, if this is something that you are actively dealing with, I would love to chat with you about it in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about the cycle of creative flow, I do have an entire course I've created explaining each element in detail, and then also it includes meditations and affirmations to help you through each phase of the cycle, depending on wherever you get stuck. So it's a really good companion for you along your creative journey, and the knowledge in that course will really equip you to face any creative block moving forward, and give you exercises to journal on and things like that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, the link is in the description box below. Otherwise, I really want to just thank you all for being a part of this process and being a part of my own creative journey, and being an awakened creator who's really ready to let their heart speak for them, moving forward through their life and allowing their truth to come through loud and clear. So thank you again so much. I love you. Namaste.